Hello, and how's it going out there in Black Gay Comic Geek world? Welcome. Let me move Rocket out the way. There you go. Welcome to my safe haven, everybody. Thank you guys for joining me for another live here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. If this is your first time checking me out on a live here on the channel, first and foremost, let me say thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Thank you so much for watching the channel. Let me introduce myself. My name is Michael. I call myself the Black Gay Comic Geek, and I always say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic. Actually, since we're showing off tattoos, let me show you my latest tattoo. It's like 3 weeks old. You see it says blood, sex, gore, and magic. Lovely colors right there. You can see it. Got the Hoochie Daddy shorts on. Hold on, let me remove this real quick so you can see it better. There you go. Blood, sex, gore, and magic. So I like to talk about superheroes, video games, comic books, action movies, horror movies, sci-fi, fantasy. And of course, I like to talk about Black representation and queer representation. So if that is something that you are interested in, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. If you think representation matters, you enjoy the fact that there is a Black queer nerd talking about nerdy things and all the things that you particularly enjoy as well. If you're an ally, if you are part of the family, as we say, hit that subscribe button, become one of my safe Gaveneers. I actually just saw Janet Jackson in concert yesterday at Madison Square Garden. So you know how she said, we are a part of a rhythm nation. Hit the subscribe button and become part of my Black Gay Comic Geek Nation. That was too many syllables, but it works. Anyway, so if you're here in the stream, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're watching later in the replay, hit the like button. It'll let YouTube know that in the algorithm that this video is worth getting out there, that the live is worth getting out there, that my channel is worth recommending to other people, and more people could come and subscribe to the channel. With that said, as you could tell from the title of this episode, we're talking Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the very last movie in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, the very last movie that James Gunn is going to do for Marvel before he takes fully on the reins as the head of DC Studios and starts finishing up the Superman Legacy movie that he's directing. And so with that, did this movie end in the bang? Did this movie end in a great way? Did this movie cement James Gunn's legacy with the Guardians of the Galaxy? There's some debate going on. Is this the best MCU trilogy ever? Is this the best comic book trilogy ever? Let's talk about it. But with that said, guys, if you have joined me for any other live that I've ever done on this channel, this is the first time on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. You guys know that I generally don't like to do lives alone. I always have a guest on the channel with me, but this time, for the first time, we're gonna do it alone. I'm gonna be solo dolo here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. You know, sometimes when it comes to other people's schedules and things like that, things don't always work out. And so originally I was gonna cancel because people had to cancel, they couldn't make it, yada yada yada. But I was like, you know what? This is my channel. This is the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. Ultimately, you guys are here to see me. And so instead of just canceling the live, I still want to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. So you guys are going to be my audience. You guys are going to be my co-hosts. So hopefully you all have seen Guardians of the Galaxy. That way you can interact with me in the chat and everything like that. And so let me know all of your thoughts regarding Guardians of the Galaxy, your thoughts of the trilogy. Where does this movie stand in terms of the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy? Where does it stand in terms of your MCU ranking and all of that stuff? And so again, spoilers, 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 spoilers. And so getting into it, let me move Rocket out of the way a little bit because I'm afraid I'm gonna like knock him over on the screen. But let me turn it a little bit so I can. He's also my co-host. He's gonna be a silent co-host. But with that said, getting into the movie, like if you guys have seen my non-spoiler review, hold on, I see. Spoiler for me. I mean, well, I appreciate you as always being here. But yeah, what is this? Look, we got the official Megs in the building. Hey, what's up, official Megs? Eon, hello everyone. Hey, how's it going? Tiffany N. I just came back from seeing it. Well, I hope you had a good time, because going into what I was saying, if you guys have seen my non-spoiler review, I will say fully, and also if you haven't seen that, after this live is over, go back and check that out, let it play, watch, like, share, comment, interact for the all gay rhythm, and do that for all of my videos. Even if you're not even interested, let it play in the background while you're eating cereal or something, and then hit the like button and leave a comment to help your boy out. But I will say, like, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, surprisingly enough, is honestly my favorite movie in the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. And I said this in my non-spoiler review, but, like, I love the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It was the first time we got to see these characters. It was the first time we got to see anything like this in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was the first time we got to see Marvel Cosmic in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We got to see introductions of Celestials. We got more of a backstory of the Infinity Gems, or Infinity Stones, as they're called in the MCU. In the comics, they're Infinity Gems, but in the movies, they're in Infinity Stones. Well, we got to learn more about that origin and all of these wacky, kooky characters, a talking raccoon, a talking tree, and all of that stuff. So because of that, you know, it holds a special place in my heart. And then plus it was good, the soundtrack, the score, and everything like that. But I feel like this movie in particular, what makes this movie my favorite compared to Guardians 1 is I feel like this movie had a lot more heart. This movie had a lot more character development, especially for the character of Rocket, but also with, like, Peter Quill and dealing with his trauma and backstory. And then also getting to see more, even though I would have preferred to see more, but we got to see probably the most outside of maybe Guardians 2, with more particularly with Nebula and Gamora, but we got to see more of a fleshing out of other characters in this movie. And every single character got their moment to shine at some point in this movie, whether it's, excuse me, felt the burp coming, but whether it's Drax, whether it's Nebula, Gamora, even though we'll get into that later, so I'm not even going to say that. Of course, Rocket, Groot, Kraglin, even Cosmo got their moment to shine. So that's one thing that I appreciated with this movie. And so getting into it, the starting of the movie, we see that, you know, this movie takes place, I'm not sure how long after, but the movie does take place after the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. Hopefully you've seen the Christmas special, because it does play a role into what happens in this story. Like, I know, you know, Ron from Read Comics, who's generally been on my channel plenty of times, he mentioned when we were at the theater, but he hadn't seen the Christmas special. So there were certain things that he was lost on. So with that, we see that the Guardians have purchased the Celestial Head, the planet Nowhere, from the Collector, and they're basically, you know, rebuilding it, making it a haven for people around the galaxy. But Peter Quill, he's still reeling from the death of Gamora, and knowing also that she came back to life, but she doesn't remember who he is. And so he's depressed, you know, the love of his life. He lost the love of his life, even though technically he didn't lose the love of his life, because she's there. He can touch her, he can feel her, he can smell her, he can call her, but she doesn't remember anything about their time together, because she's Gamora from the past. She's a different iteration of Gamora than the version that he knew. And the last time that he saw Gamora, they were, you know, in love, and they were trying to stop Thanos, but this Gamora isn't the same. And so he's depressed, he's drinking, he's making a fool of himself and everything like that. And so you see Rocket, he has StarLord's Zune, and so he's starting to listen to music. And that's one thing I also appreciate about these Guardians of the Galaxy movies, the music. Like, James Gunn really knows how to pick some songs. And I heard some people say, like, they felt like the score, or not the score, but the soundtrack overtook the movie in certain moments, but I don't think so. I thought every song in the soundtrack worked for me. And then also the soundtrack plus the score, I thought every song was rocking, especially when, like, towards the end, when the Beastie Boys came on, that song, No Sleep in Brooklyn. Like, I was jamming. Dang, Sammy, you still got your Zune? Dang, I never had a Zune. The first time I had something like that was when I had my iPod, and now iPods are completely obsolete because you could get that on your phone. But yeah, I had a Walkman, and I had a CD player, and then skipped many years later, I ended up having an iPod. And I remember I couldn't live without my iPod before. I remember when they were like, oh, you can now use your phone to play music. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm keeping my iPod. And now I don't even know where the iPod is. But Rocket has the Zune. He's listening to the music. And suddenly, out of nowhere, you see there's an attack. There's an attack on nowhere. You see it's Adam Warlock, and it's the debut of Adam Warlock into the MCU. The first time Adam Warlock was teased was way back when in Guardians Volume 2, where I can't remember the name of the woman, but she was also in this movie. But the Sovereign lady, who is the mother of Adam Warlock, where she's like, Adam, I shall call him Adam. So we're finally getting to see Adam Warlock, which I thought Adam Warlock would have played a much bigger role in the MCU, because if you guys don't know from the comic, he had a huge role in the Infinity Saga. He also is the person that usually houses the Soul Stone. But I guess they didn't want to do a repeat of that, because in the MCU, Vision has the Mind Stone. And so I guess they didn't want to have another creature that was created to have another Infinity Stone, but it's still stupid. Like, give him the Soul Stone, especially because, like, the Infinity Stone still exists, obviously. So they should let him have the Soul Stone. But they did have him have like a gem on the top of his forehead. But White Leisha. Yeah, I don't know her name. It's like, Aisha. As soon as you say White Leisha, Aisha. When I hear Aisha stuff, that's definitely a black name. Or I think about Aisha from Power Rangers. Time to boogie with the bear. But so he's traveling super fast to collect Rocket. He attacks Rocket, and then all of the Guardians chip in and everything to try to take out Adam Warlock. And Adam Warlock is powerful. Adam Warlock is super powerful. Adam Warlock is one of the most powerful beings in Marvel Comics. And so the other Guardians and everything, they were struggling. And you see Nebula showed up in like a little flying suit, and she had like the gun. At first I was like, is that Stark tech? Because we know she spent a lot of time with Tony Stark, especially on that ship right after Endgame, before Tony was about to die. So I thought maybe, she picked up something from Stark, or maybe he taught her something, but it turns out Rocket made her that new enhancement. And so she was trying to put up a good fight, and she tried, but Adam Warlock broke her down. Like, if she was human, she'd have been dead, because like her neck was like down here. She was completely like almost broken and ripped in half or whatever. The only one that put up a really good fight with Adam Warlock was Drax. And that's something that I appreciated in this movie, because one thing that I feel like these movies didn't really do is live up to Drax as a character. His name is Drax the Destroyer. He is somebody that is meant to be feared. In the comics, he is somebody that was strong enough to kill and take out Thanos. But we've never really seen that level of strength and capability and menace from Drax, outside of maybe like the first time you saw him, when he went after the Gamora for being the daughter of Thanos, and Peter was scared and he tried to like talk him down. But then after that, like, they kind of played Drax to be more or less of a joke. And even during this movie, like, the running theme was, he's an idiot. And of course, by the end of the movie, they say, he's not really an idiot. He's just misunderstood, and he's more than what you think he is. He's just obviously an alien creature that doesn't understand metaphor, doesn't understand simile and all that other stuff. But he's smart in his own way. And like you saw in this moment, he's a badass. He was taking down Adam Warlock, except for the fact that Adam Warlock ended up, beating him pretty. He almost killed him if it wasn't for Nebula stabbing him in the end. But during that fight, you saw Groot being taken out. Like, the only thing that was left for Groot was a head. And in the audience started screaming when that happened, because they thought Groot had died, because the whole like lead up to this movie, people are like, especially from James Gunn, they're like, who's gonna die in this movie? Who's gonna die? What's gonna happen? I'm not opposed to killing any characters. Somebody major from the cast might die. And going out to Ethan Vega comment that they mentioned, yeah, I like the movie, but I wish StarLord and Drax would have died. The stakes of the movie would have actually felt high. So going into that next comment, what I was about to say is, yeah, for the most part, even despite all that buildup, and if you look at all the theories and everything like that going on with this movie, nobody died. And I was surprised. I knew going into this movie. I didn't know when. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I feel something starting right. So Little Mermaid reference, but I just knew going into this movie that Drax was going to die, especially because of the comments from Dave Batista, basically saying like he's done with the MCU. He's tired of these movies. These movies are silly. He wants to move on to more serious roles. And then he also didn't like how Disney handled the firing of James Gunn when he was fired all those couple years ago before they invited him back when they realized they made a mistake. So because of that, he was just like, nah, I'm done with Marvel. I'm over it. So because of that, I was just like, nah, Drax is done. They're going to kill him. And this is the last movie. James Gunn is going to go. James Gunn is going to go, and he's going to want to end this movie in a bang. So there was a couple moments where I was like, okay, Drax is dead. Oh, he's dead. This is it. This is it. But it didn't happen. Nobody died. I'm surprised. But I do. So I guess with that, in some instances, I can see where people are saying like they felt like there weren't any stakes in this movie because nobody died. But also on the flip side of that, I don't feel like somebody has to die just for there to be stakes in a movie. And I think we've become a little bit spoiled from all these shows that have come, like Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead, House of Dragon, and all these, I can't think of another recent show, but all these shows where, because prior to that, there were stakes galore, but it wasn't common to kill off major characters in movies and TV shows. In most instances, they lived, but that still didn't denote or negate that the movie had stakes just because the hero always won in the end. And so I feel like there still were stakes because even jumping to the end of the movie, there was an entire planet that got destroyed, counter Earth. And there were a lot of lives that were lost, especially like the little bat lady that ended up helping StarLord in the Guardians of the Galaxy towards the end of that movie. We saw her whole family. We saw her husband. We saw the pictures on the wall. She was the only one that was willing to help them. And that whole planet was destroyed, and they were all innocent. That was some stakes. Everything that happened with Rocket and the torture that he went through. Nebula said, this is even worse than what Thanos than what I went through with Thanos. And having to deal with that. I feel like that added stakes to this movie. And also, like, we saw what happened with Gamora. And I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but that's what happens when you're by yourself. I have nobody else to bounce off of. So I'm just bouncing, my thoughts as they come. But like, also everything that happened with like the personal stakes of like StarLord losing the love of his life, and then a little bit of the PTSD and trauma and everything that he's finally started to deal with his father being a celestial that's tried to destroy take over the universe. Him finally dealing with the fact that his mother died, and finally dealing with the fact that he was kidnapped pretty much and taken from the only home that he knew at the age of 8, and has been running away from that and dealing with that since the first Guardians movie. And so those are the more personal stakes that the movie dealt with. And also one thing that I really appreciated about this movie is the fact that this was just a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It only focused on the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. There was no greater build up to the rest of Marvel and the rest of Phase 5. And I think that's what one of the biggest problems I had with Ant-Man, in the sense of like, yeah, you're using this movie as your jumping off point to introduce Kang the Conqueror, and we'll get into that later. But introducing Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror, your next big bad, into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and setting the stakes for that. But it still didn't feel like an Ant-Man movie. And like, it just felt like you're using Ant-Man to introduce Kang, and you're using this character to introduce another character, but you don't really care about the other characters that you've already set up. Like, we didn't get to see Ant-Man's friends like Lewis and the character that T.I. played, and the other characters. I can't think of their names, but they had big roles in the other Ant-Man movies, especially Lewis with his storylines. Like, a lot of people kept saying one of the biggest things that they missed from the Ant-Man movies was Lewis and his storytelling. Even though we got to see Cassie and things like that, it was Cassie in reference to her father. We didn't get to see a lot of build up with Cassie. It was called Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but Wasp didn't really have anything to do in that movie. It was really Janet's movie. Hank Pym didn't really have much to do in that movie because most of the movie was about setting up Kang. But yet, the good thing about this movie that I did appreciate in terms of going back to the stakes is it set up the Guardians of the Galaxy, and this was only a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and all the stakes in this movie were personal. It wasn't world ending or universe ending or we got to save this, we got to save that. It was, no, we got to protect our friend. Those were the stakes. So going back to the movie in terms of like after the fight happened with Adam Warlock, transition, segue. I'm doing good for being by myself. I was kind of nervous. I was like, what if I'm silent the whole time because I don't have nobody to bounce off of? But the stakes, we saw that Adam Warlock accidentally blasted Rocket with a blow that almost kind of killed him. And so the characters are trying to, because they got the advanced science, they got a med pack, because you saw Mantis's arm was broken. When she put the med pack on, her arm instantly snapped back in place. But that didn't work for Rocket because he has like robotics that's implanted in him to be a sort of kill switch that he himself put inside of him because, as Nebula said, he's a very, what did she say? He's a very high-priced piece of technology. And hold on, what was this comment say? Hey, Shamir J. I think Gunn meant it to be the death of the Guardians team that we know so far. With Rocket being captain now, I wouldn't be surprised if they give us a glimpse of the new team. I mean, I hope so going forward, because I mean, jumping to the end, we saw the post-credit scene. It says the legendary StarLord will return. It didn't say the Guardians of the Galaxy or the new Guardians of the Galaxy or anything like that will return. So I'm curious if we will see Rocket leading the new team of giant Groot. Like when Groot stood up and was the size of like a house, I was like, whoa, I am Groot indeed. But Adam Warlock, we saw the girl, one of the girls that they saved at the end, Kraglin, and then Cosmo. They're the new Guardians of the Galaxy. I hope we get to see this new incarnation of the team, but yeah, it says StarLord will return, but not the Guardians, which I'm just like, StarLord, but why though? Like, kill Chris Pratt. I don't want to see white man. Like, I don't want to see mediocre white man again. But whatever. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with StarLord going forward. But I will say though, since I am on it, jumping forward towards the end a little bit, for those of you that don't know, it is canonical. It is canonical. That is not a word. It is canonical to the comics that StarLord is indeed bisexual, and he had a solo run, but it ended up getting canceled because nobody read it because whatever. And it wasn't because of this; it was before this part was even introduced. But it was revealed that StarLord would have had a new love interest who was an alien, but presented as a black male, but he was an alien, and that would have been his new love interest. They didn't release that character's name. They didn't say who that character was going to be, but that was just going to be StarLord's new love interest, which, I mean, he's in space and all that stuff. Like, of course he would be some level of pan because it's space characters. But with that said, I was like, okay, jumping to the end. They basically solidified the fact that Peter and Gamora are done. Zoe Saldana said she is done. She's not coming back. But we did see that it said StarLord is coming back. So I was like, well... And I know it's not going to happen. It's Marvel, it's Disney, and not Peter Quill, but Chris Pratt has been known to be pretty anti-gay and super religious. But I was just like, huh. So, hashtag make it black or make it gayer. His new love interest is black and gay. So I was like, so what if when StarLord returns, he returns back with a new alien male love interest? Marvel, let's do it. Make it happen. Hashtag make it black or make it gayer. But like I said, it's not going to happen. Even if Marvel wanted to do it, Chris Pratt would be like, absolutely no fucking way. But fuck you, Chris Pratt. If it's in the contract, you need to suck it. Let me stop. But if it's in the contract, you need to do it. But yeah, that was my threat. I was like, what if that's the way they could clearly go that route? Because obviously he's done with Gamora. But yeah, I would like to see the new incarnation of the Guardians, even if it's like for a Disney Plus TV series. But going into that, so Rocket's incapacitated. They're trying to figure out what happened. They're trying to figure out Rocket's origins because he's never talked about it. He doesn't like talking about his origins. Even Nebula doesn't really know, but she was able to hack into the little bit of technology that he has in his system to figure out where his parts and where everything that he was created came from. And it came from like this giant, like iris looking floating eye in the sky. called Orko Corp. And so in order to sneak into Orko Corp, Nebula called in some assistance, and some assistance was from her sister, Gamora, which Peter didn't know was going to happen. So he started freaking out. He's trying to get Gamora to remember, even though she can't remember, because it's not like she forgot. It's a completely different Gamora. She went through completely different experiences. She's a Gamora from 2014 who hadn't met Peter yet. So the only person she knows, the only person she has a connection with is her sister Nebula. And this is also their way of getting Gamora back into the story because, finishing the characters that James Gunn started with. But truth of the matter is, honestly, even though I like seeing Zoe Saldana, even though I really enjoy her performance as Nebula, and I enjoy every performance overall in this movie. There wasn't a weak performance to me in this movie, but to be perfectly honest, Nebula wasn't really needed in this movie. She didn't really add anything to this movie or contribute anything to this movie. She was just there for the sake of purposes of, she was Nebula, and I mean, not Nebula, she was Gamora, and she started the Guardians of the Galaxy, and now it's time to finish as the character. But in terms of like, out of all the characters, even though she got her moment to shine in like the action sequence, out of all the characters, I would say she was the one that was like least involved in the plot. But one thing that I do appreciate with the story of Gamora that I feel like probably wouldn't have happened maybe 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, is the story ended with her and StarLord not getting back together. The story was like, nah, this is a new Gamora. She's got a new attitude. She's went through different experiences. She's not in love with this version of Peter Quill. She ended up gaining some level of affection, some level of connection with him by the end. But that love, that spark that we saw in the first two movies, that's not this new Gamora. And so the movie ended with basically saying like she's gonna live her life and she's gonna be happy with her new family. She doesn't need a man to make herself happy. She doesn't need a man to fulfill herself and all of that. She's able to, still live her life with her new family, the Ravagers. And that's something that I do appreciate, because a lot of times the stories, especially when it comes to Disney, that's usually always the story with women. They need a man. It's always, I got to find I'm a 16-year-old mermaid. I'm going to leave my entire family, everything that I've ever known, for a man that I've known for 2 seconds. I've fallen in love with this man and he ain't even dicked me down yet. Like, I'm singing all of the part of your world, and I'm ready to sacrifice everything for this man, to become a human, not knowing if this man is even attracted, like nothing. But that's like a lot of Disney stories. It's all about trying to find a man to fulfill yourself, which, I am talking trash about Little Mermaid, the storyline, but, I am going to see it next week, next Tuesday. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not that I'm excited because of Halle Bailey and having a black Ariel. But let's be honest here, most of these live action Disney Plus movies have not been that good. And this movie is hella dark. There's like no color in this movie at all. So based on just the past movies, I'm thinking it's probably not going to be that good, but I'm still rooting for Halle Bailey. I'm pretty sure she's going to kill it. But especially, did you see the look of like Flounder and Sebastian and Scuttle? And then you got Aquafina and Scott, like, trash. But anyway, I'm not gonna go on that rant. But so they break into Orgo Corp and everything like that. And one thing about James Gunn, it's something I appreciate for him, because we all do this at some point. He's gonna put his family in the movie, especially now that he has a new wife. His wife is like been pretty much in every single property that he's done so far. He put his wife in the Suicide Squad. He put his wife in Peacemaker. His wife was in Shazam. His wife was in Black Adam. And now, jumping universes, now she's showing up in the Guardians of the Galaxy in The Little Mermaid. I mean, The Little Mermaid, not The Little Mermaid. She probably might show up in that too, but showing up in Guardians of the Galaxy on Orgo. She was the person behind all the monitors and everything like that. But no, Jessica, I haven't watched the trailers either, but I did see a little bit of it at D23 last year, and then like little clips here and there that show up on the internet. But I haven't like watched a full trailer. But like based on what I've seen, the movie's pretty dark. But what was I saying? Yeah, he's gonna put his wife in everything, and then also like not even just his wife, but he also has his brother Sean Gunn is playing Kraglin, so he's been in all 3 movies. But and a lot of people complain about that, but like Everybody does that. Everybody has a cousin or a family member that they try to put on and give a job. It's just Hollywood is more prevalent for the idea of nepotism. Or how many times does a celebrity have to have a kid? And just because that kid is the parent, that kid is a child of a celebrity, that person instantly becomes a movie star or a singer or whatever. Like, people are paying a hell of a lot of attention at Blue Ivy, but why? She's not Beyonce. She's just the child of Beyonce. And then more than likely, if she wants to be a singer, she's going to automatically get a role. So people do nepotism all the time. I just don't have, it's just with James Gunn, it just seems to be more obvious, but I don't have a problem with it because when I have like the job that I have, my cousin put me on. So it happens all the time. So, and the reason I bring this up is because there are mad people complaining that James Gunn put his wife in the movie, but I'm just like, shut the hell. Like, what are y'all complaining about? And it's not like she's a terrible actress. So it's not like he's putting somebody on that's not qualified. So no, whatever, it's trash. I just think it's funny that she's just showing up, and even now she's in Marvel and DC. But with that said, we see like one of the first action sequences, and also we see Nathan Fillion show up in the movie. He was also in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie as an alien, but now you see him show up as himself. And I like the comedy aspect, especially Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion is definitely an underrated actor, and I feel like he should have more name recognition than he currently has. He was always my pick for Nathan Drake, funny enough, for the Uncharted movies, but they took so long for those movies to finally be produced that he became too old for the movie to come out. But he did do like a short that came out, which showed that he would have been a great Nathan Drake. What did this comment say? I just don't expect much from Disney, and then the letdown won't be as bad. I mean, true. And what did Zendaya say in Spider-Man when she was Mary Jane? Expect the worst, and you won't ever be disappointed, or something like that. That's what I try to do. But like, if I keep expecting the worst, then my whole platform would be like, it won't exist, because I'm all about speaking about queer representation and hoping for it and pushing for it and all of that stuff. But if I'm like realistic about it, it's like, yeah, we're never going to get it. Or if we get it, it's going to be the bare minimum of bare minimum. I can't have that mentality, even though I know for the most part, especially when you think about they have to appeal to the Chinese box office and things like that. So like, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm hoping at a certain point, because people like me calling them out and everything like that, hopefully they do try to do better. I hate StarLord. I hate StarLord. All that crying in Thanos' face over Gamora just for her to choose her own family. I mean, but she chose her own family only because she doesn't remember him. It's not like it's the same Gamora from the other two movies. This is a completely different Gamora. This Gamora that we're seeing in this movie is before the Gamora we see in Guardians 1. So it's before she met StarLord. The only person she knows is Nebula. And so with that, we going back into the death of Rocket, we get to see Rocket's origin, where he came from, his creation by the new villain, the High Evolutionary, and how he evolved him from raccoons, spoilers to the end, raccoons from the planet Earth. And what is his name? 89P13. 89P13. I need to drink some cranberry juice. My throat's getting dry. But with that said, so we not really see a lot of it, but we see some of the torture that Rocket ended up going through. And then we get to meet his friends that he ended up coming through the prison with, coming up in the trenches with. An otter named Lila, a walrus named Teefs, and a scary ass looking bunny with mechanical legs who eventually calls herself Floor. And only something like a Guardians of the Galaxy can do this. And it's also something with the CGI was so good that I never thought in my life that I would be connecting so hard and so emotional. Not that I cried or anything like that, but emotional over some CGI unrealistic, or not unrealistic, but animatronic, not real talking animals, because I loved all of these characters and their connection with each other. And especially like Baby Rocket, his first word, the first time he ever spoke, and that little baby voice that he spoke, he was like, hurts. I was like, oh, Rocket, baby. And that voice, I was like, that voice is so cute. And how Lila, took a little cloth and licked it and, patted down the blood that was on the top of his head. And we got to see like his connection with these people, how they had such hope despite being in such dire and tragic circumstances and basically being in prison, but they still made it work and had level of hope that one day they were going to get out. And yeah, Baby Rocket was cute for a raccoon. Now, granted, if I saw a baby raccoon in real life or any type of raccoon in real life, I'm running the other way because them motherfuckers are vicious. Like, them shits are, they're probably more scared of us than I am of it, but I don't give a fuck. I am hauling ass. Like, I don't know if you guys have watched Lovecraft Country, but the way, what's her face? I can't think of her name, but Journey Smollett's character ran in that first episode. That's me if I ever see a raccoon. But like, just seeing their dynamic and just how full of hope and life that these characters were, despite their terrible circumstances, despite pretty much being tortured and disemboweled and disfigured and mutilated, they still found a way to enjoy life. And so when you got to see like the origin of Rocket's name, how he saw a rocket going off into the sky, he's like, I'm going to build rocket ships and have all my friends join me. And we're going to fly into the sky. And we're going to be on our own planet. He's going to make, there we go, Letitia fucking Lewis. There we go. Thank you, Sammy. I was like, what is her name? It's been so long since I've seen Lovecraft Country. But like, just seeing that whole origin story, like it was sad. And seeing like how the high evolutionary was he was focused on animal cruelty. And that was his biggest thing. I call him not Kang because in the comics, he's not black. But of course, in the movie, they made him black. And something that I didn't realize, that's the same guy from Peacemaker that played the leader of Peacemaker's CIA troop that ended up being an alien. I didn't realize that was him, Chuck Woody Iwuji. But I thought he was great as the High Evolutionary. His performance, like, you knew that man was acting. You saw the spit coming out his mouth. I was expecting him to have the Viola Davis snot boogers because that man was like, he was putting on a performance. I enjoyed him as the High Evolutionary. And so his whole thing was trying to create a better world, but trying to create a better world using animals. And I like that line where one of his minions was like, for God's sake, sir. And he was like, there is no God. That's why I stepped in. That man has a huge ego. But like, again, he was putting on a performance. I loved his performance in the movie. I do wish we got to see a little bit more backstory from him to find out what motivates him, to find out what's making him think he could create benevolent animals to create a better world, or what, like, because obviously all villains have some type of trauma. Hell, all heroes damn near have some type of trauma. Like, damn near all superheroes have some type of death, family member death or whatever that spurs them on. It's just how you end up dealing with the trauma. Batman had trauma, but instead of becoming a criminal, he became a superhero. Even on many cases, he is a criminal because he's beating up homeless people that just need a slice of bread, and he's a billionaire. He could get these people a slice of bread, but that's a whole nother thing. But like Spider-Man, the death of Uncle Ben, Peter Quill, the death of his mother, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They all got trauma. Tony Stark, the getting kidnapped and held for ransom by terrorists and getting shrapnel implanted in his. All superheroes have trauma. All villains have trauma. But I wanted to know specifically, like, what was his trauma? More about his backstory. How did he become the High Evolutionary? Also, something that they didn't explain: is he human? He's humanoid, but is he actually human? Because they also explained, like, he's been to Earth. A lot of his technology, a lot of his inspiration is from Earth. So is that because he is an Earthling himself and just somehow got high levels of technology or whatever? And also another thing that I saw, this is something what I said I was going to bring up later with regards to Jonathan Majors. I did see a lot of people talking on the internet because we don't know what the hell is going on with Jonathan Majors. Is he going to get kicked out of the MCU? Is he going to get convicted? Because if he's convicted right now, I think he appeared in court today. But they said he's going to appear in court like next month or something like that. If he's convicted, he could possibly serve like 12 months in jail. And more than likely Marvel's gonna fire him from the role of Kang the Conqueror. So with that, because that character is still alive, I saw people saying it would be a good idea because he's also black. He has on a purple suit. Haha, you got a scientist who has a lot of, technological prowess. What if he ends up being a variant of Kang the Conqueror? And you can now introduce and continue on with the storyline of Kang with this new character that we already got introduced. He's a variant. So that would be an interesting theory and an interesting way to go. In a way, it's something I wouldn't necessarily hate if they end up having to get rid of Jonathan Majors in these movies because he's trash and can't seem to keep his hands to himself. Allegedly, we don't know. We don't know what the story is. I don't know, but just in case that happens, we don't know. But hold on, we got a celebrity in here in the chat. Just my opinion, Brandon Keith Avery. Glad they didn't kill him off, which I am glad they didn't kill him off either. High Evolutionary, because Marvel does have a strong penchant for killing off their villains, even especially their really good villains. Like they killed off Thanos, they killed off the Ironmonger, they killed off something I would never forgive them for. They killed off Wen Wu from Shang-Chi. I was just like, come on now, like why would you do that? Like he was the best part of the movie. And the movie should have ended in a kung fu fight between, like, I enjoy Shang-Chi, but the one thing I didn't like about Shang-Chi was the ending, that little dragon CGI fight. Like, it should have been a fight between Shang-Chi, his sister, and them taking out their father, not a dragon battle. And then when Wu should have, like, went to jail or something like that. They take the rings and he's locked up only for him to return later on. Like the fact that they killed him, I thought was trash, but that's like a Marvel trope. They love to kill their villains. So I'm glad they didn't kill the High Evolutionary, and maybe he could come back as Kang the Conqueror, a variant of Kang the Conqueror. So, we already saw all the Kang, an easy plot. We already saw all the other Kang come together at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp. Let's say the High Evolutionary knew that was going to happen. He planted a bomb. All of those Kangs are destroyed. Now we see the Chuck Woody Iwuji versions of Kang to say, oh, no, these are my new Kang variants. And now they look just like me instead of that other guy. I'm the High Evolutionary. I evolved to make myself look different or whatever. Like, there's an easy fix with that if that's the route that they go. But I enjoyed him as the villain. And then jumping to the end when, like, his face was all scratched up. We saw what Rocket did to him after he killed his girlfriend, Lila. Rocket fucked him up. Like, he basically looked like Freddy Krueger, pretty much. Like, dang, bro, you got your ass beat by a raccoon. But he also didn't have the level of power and telekinesis that we saw later on in the movie that he had when we first saw him with Rocket. And one thing that, like, with him and his ego, he didn't appreciate something that he was already the smartest person in the room. He was already creating creatures that ended up evolving past him. Like Rocket was smart enough to figure out things that he couldn't figure out. And instead of marveling and appreciating that and trying to maybe work with Rocket to try to, pick his brain and maybe learn from Rocket, he couldn't stand the fact that Rocket was smarter than him. He couldn't stand the fact that something that he created understood technology that he couldn't understand. So when the moment when he tried to show Rocket that the creatures were that he was evolving was, the more perfect creatures had a more antagonistic and menacing demeanor to them, and Rocket instantly looked at the tube and he was able to figure it out. And that's something that goes to show the smarts and level of genius of Rocket Raccoon. And something that I loved in, like, when you go to Endgame and Tony Stark was treating Rocket like he was a dummy, and Rocket was like, he checked him. He's like, bro, you're not the only genius in the universe. Like, I'm probably smarter than you. Like, you're just smart on Earth. I'm smart around the galaxy. Like, calm your tits. So that's something I love about Rocket and his whole backstory. One thing I will say, though, one thing I wish they did go into, especially going into the backstory of Rocket, I wish they went into more, or not because they didn't go into it at all, but I wish they went into how Rocket met Groot, because that is part of his backstory. That is part of how he survived. Because one of the lines was, how did P89 P13 survive? Part of the way he survived was by meeting Groot. And then also, like, the Groot that we know from these current movies is not the same Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. James Gunn has said emphatically that Groot is dead. The Groot that we're seeing now is his spawn. That Groot is his son. So I would have liked to have seen, being that this is the final incarnation, especially of these Guardians, I would like to see like one more reference to the first group that we saw, of like a quick reference of how he met Rocket and how they started connecting to each other. I was thinking of along the lines, because Groot is also the last Flora Colossus. He's also the last of his species. Well, what happened to his species to the fact that he became the last one, and what would cause him to bond with Rocket so much? Well, what if he's the last of his species because the High Evolutionary ended up taking out all the other Flora Colossus, and he ended up being the only one to survive? I thought that would have been an interesting angle to play in there. Granted, it probably would have been a little bit too much to go into because there was only but so much time, but I think even just a small reference to the other Groot, I would have liked going forward. But with that said, despite really enjoying the movie overall, I will say, like, the movie's not perfect. There are some things that I didn't like about the movie, like, for example, I didn't really like Adam Warlock in this movie. Nothing against the actor, Will Poulter. I thought he did a good job with the hand that he was dealt. And there were certain moments that, he played the comedy and things like that. But his character was like, not dumb, but he was dumb. And I get in the comic, when Adam Warlock was first created, he was a child. And that's the same thing that they tried to pull in this movie. So there's definitely room for him to grow. So I'm not hating the interpretation of Adam Warlock. But at the same time, I still feel like they could have did a little bit more with Adam Warlock and like make his character a little bit more prevalent in the story, especially considering how prevalent he was in the comic. And then also, yeah, I do wish somebody would have died. I do wish Drax would have died. Or that moment at the end where StarLord got trapped into space, his body started freezing, his face started expanding like he was about to implode. Like, I literally thought his head was about to explode. And then the fact that they tried to pull like the Jesus moment in the Sistine Chapel where Adam Warlock went to go save him and like touch him and say, I was like, first of all, this man can travel faster than light. What took him so long to go to try to save Peter Quill? He could have did that instantly. And the fact that Peter, and granted, I get his alien technology and things like that, but the fact that he was able to fully recover with not even a scar or anything like that, I was like, come on now. Like, that was dumb. I also never really liked how they treated Mantis and Drax in these movies. Like I mentioned before, his name is Drax the Destroyer. This man is deadly, but they always play him to be a little bit of a joke. And yeah, they did say by the end of the movie, like, he's more than just that. It's just, that's just what we see, but that's not what other people see, like the kids that really enjoyed Drax. But I don't know. To me, he still comes off as dumb. And yeah, Sammy McClimpton, that's another thing. Where was Peter's helmet? Because the same thing that happened to him in this movie was the same thing that happened to him in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. But he was able to survive it because he had the helmet. And that's why Yondu died, but not him. Where was his helmet? That was another thing. I don't know. Maybe he forgot it. I don't know. But that was an issue. I was like, it's something I didn't even think about for a while until like right before I went live. I was like, wait, where was Peter? Peter has a whole ass helmet that he could have used. But I guess, to show the drama of like, oh my God, is he going to die? Is he going to die? No, he's not going to die. But I did like that every character got to have like their moment, like Kraglin, finally coming into his power with a little super powered OP arrow that he got and inherited from Yondu. Getting to see how powerful Cosmo is with being both telekinetic and being both telekinetic and having telepathy. I loved all of that. But one thing I am curious about is, because if you jump to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, when they got kidnapped by the Nova Corps, and speaking of, where the hell is the Nova Corps? Are we getting, because they keep teasing that we're going to get a Nova movie. Where are the Novas? And I know they mentioned like Thanos wiped out Xandar, but he couldn't have wiped out all of them if we're going to get a Nova movie. But what I was saying is, when they got arrested by the Nova Corps, you saw like one of the blurbs when Rocket got arrested, it said one of his associates, his only known associate, is Lila. Then we get to this movie, we find out who Lila is. There's no way the Nova Corps could have known who Lila was because she was killed before Rocket even escaped. And so I guess that was one small plot hole in terms of like, it wasn't a big one, but that was one, it's like, how would they know who Lila even is? Because she died before she even got to explore the outside world. She never got to see her sky or whatever. But then they kind of had a Harry Potter reference where you saw Rocket in the afterlife when the world was all white, and Lila came out of nowhere, which basically reminded me of like when Harry died, when Voldemort did the Avada Kedavra, and Harry showed up in King's Cross Station and Voldemort showed up. It was like the same setup. But J.K. Rowling's trash, though, just to throw that in there. Is it me, or did Drax and Mantis have sexual tension that went unresolved? I don't think so. I don't think they had any sexual tension. I think the relationship between Mantis and Drax seems to me as like the annoying brother and annoying sister dynamic. I don't think it's sex. I don't think it's sexual at all. There's tension, but not a sexual tension. I think they just love each other in their own way, especially like Mantis, like defending. Granted, she defended him in a terrible way. She was like, "Yes, he's stupid, but he might be stupid, but he's the only one that doesn't hate himself." And I was he makes us laugh, yada yada yada. And then she made him forget, which also made me wonder. I'm like, so does she do this often? Like make him forget, or make other members of the Guardians of the Galaxy forget things that she maybe not want them to remember? So ultimately, can you really trust her? So that was a thought process that happened in my head, and I wish a thread that I feel like they kind of dropped, because the fact that they just instantly did that, forget, and then they kind of dropped it and didn't go back to that. I was like, wait a minute, that's a story there, but again, there's no time. This is the last one. But clearly, somebody that did have some sexual tension at a certain point, Peter Quill did start to have sexual tension from Mantis, where he started looking at Mantis and getting googly eyes and was like, wait. I never noticed how black your eyes were. Like your father picked a good pair. Like he was just looking at Nebula. And for a moment, I did think that instead of him getting with Gamora now, because Nebula's changed. She's become more nurturing. She's become more of a hero. She's become a Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was like, oh wait, are they really about to go this route and have him get together with Nebula and say actually his true love was Nebula the whole time and not Gamora? It's just Gamora helped set that up. But then they ended up not really going that route. So I was like, oh no. But part of me was kind of like, I was kind of curious. I was like, wait, because I was like, they do have some chemistry. So I was like, all right, Peter Quill and Nebula. Hey, her real review. I'm late. No, it's no problem. Thank you for joining anyway. But that's the beauty of the replay. You can always go back and watch. But just to let you know, as you can see, I am by myself. My first time in Black Gay Comic Geek history that I'm doing a live by myself, because people's schedules and things like that, they weren't able to make it, and I wanted to get this review out the way while the strike while the iron is hot. I didn't want to wait till next week or the week after or the end of the week to talk about the movie when the movie's already out, it's making money. So I decided, I was like, what, it's my channel, I'm gonna go live by myself. And so far, I think I've been doing a pretty good job. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think I've been doing a pretty good job so far? You guys have joined me on previous lives before where I had other guests. I was a little nervous going live by myself, but I've been going for an hour, almost an hour so far, and I haven't been like, oh, I don't know what else to say. Give me something to say, which is something I thought was going to happen. But anyway, so what was that? I'm so glad they didn't. I'm so glad that they didn't for New Gamora to abandon her values and goals. I guess you mean the love interest between Peter and Nebula. I mean, I don't know, because movies love to have a love interest at some point, but I guess the love interest was Lila and Rocket. But then part of me is like, because in the comics, Lila is his girlfriend, but I don't know. I know they're animals, but Rocket was a whole ass baby when Lila looked like a grown woman. And speaking of, Lila was also voiced by Linda Cardellini, who plays Hawkeye's wife in both the movies and the show. She's the new Mockingbird in the MCU. And also somebody else was the voice of one of the animals that was in a previous James Gunn movie. I don't remember, but I know Linda Cardellini was the voice of Lila, and I liked the character of Lila. I was hoping we got to see more of Lila, but they pulled at our heartstrings and killed off Lila. And that moment at the end where, you know, Rocket is crying, breaking down when he sees Lila, and he sees Teefs, and he sees Floor, and he's like, I want to come with you. Can I join you guys in the sky? Basically join you in heaven. And Lila was like, no. And Lila was like, sure, you can. And then the music was amping up and the score was hitting. But then there was that one moment where they turned back to Rocket, and Peter Quill is balling. He's like, no. Like, again, everybody was acting in this movie. Shout out Greg. Chris Pratt is trash. He's homophobic, but I gotta give him for his performance in this movie. Like, he was about to, like, you felt for him. He was about to break down because he's lost his mother. He's lost Yondu. He's lost his Gamora. Now he's about to lose Rocket. He's like, I'm not about to lose anybody else. And so that performance, so the music is running. Chris Pratt is balling. His eyes are red. He's spitting all over everybody. And then the music ramps up, and then Rocket's walking to go enter into the animal gates of heaven to meet Floor and Teefs and head off with Lila. And Lila, she like puts her hand in front, and she's like, but it's not now. You can't come now. Now is not your time. You still got much more work to do. And the way the music interspersed with that, I was like, yes, that was a great directing emotional beat. That shit hurt. That hurt my hand. But that was a great moment. Like, even the audience started cheering and everything like that. And how she was just like, it's not your time. What'd she say? She said a great line, something about the hands that made us versus the hands that guide us, or something like that. That was a great line. And then she said, go be a hero, you dumb raccoon, or something like that. Going back to that line, because, you know, Rocket always says, I'm not a raccoon. I'm not a raccoon. Or they call him a panda, or a dirty panda, or Gamora was calling him a badger the whole time. Until we finally got that payoff where Rocket was trying to escape with the High Evolutionary, trying to get as many people off the ship as possible. And then we saw a bunch of baby raccoons in the cage, and Rocket looked up and he saw, because he never knew what he was, and he saw that it said raccoons from North America. I forgot where it was. I think it was from North Dakota. And that's when he finally embraced, my name's Rocket Raccoon. And I was like, yes, you see it right here. Hold up, wait. No, it doesn't say Rocket Raccoon on here. Never mind. So much for that. But I was like, yes, he's finally embracing his name, his full name, Rocket Raccoon, embracing exactly who he is. And we know that he's not an alien. He is a raccoon from Earth that was just alienized. Is that a word? I don't know, but I'm making it into a word. He was alienized. And so I love seeing that moment of Rocket, you know, saying, I'm tired of running. I'm not running anymore, or whatever. He tried to save everyone he could save, not just the humans, but also the animals. Some of them were wild animals. They weren't anthropomorphized like he was, but he's not like, I'm going to save them regardless. And all those baby raccoons and things, I was like, it was so cute. And then the random, apparently he's also, the High Evolutionary is also into human trafficking. I don't know what's going on. So he stole all those. And granted, they were all Asian. So I was like, what's going on with this? Like, does he have an Asian fetish or something? Like, why are they all Asian? Or are they even alien? I don't know what they are. Are they aliens or whatever? I don't know what they are, but, or no, I guess they are aliens, because Drax, they were speaking a language that only Drax knew. And they kept saying, joop, 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 which joop, joop means friend. And so Drax made the connection with those kids, and he was able to, you know, since he was able to speak their language, he was able to get them away from the ship when everything exploded and all that stuff. And one of those kids, interestingly enough, who is now a member of the new Guardians of the Galaxy, apparently, according to the credits, her name is Phyla. Phyla is actually somebody from the comics who is, I don't know how they're going to do it. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up for you guys so you can see it. Nope. It's making the computer freeze, so I'm not even going to do it. But Phyla Vale is actually the daughter of Captain Marvel. And she's also the half-sister of Hulkling from the comics. Granted, I don't know if that's the route they're going to go with Phyla in this, especially because I don't know if we're going to even see this new incarnation of the Guardians of the Galaxy. But that little kid you saw at the end with the glowing hands, that's who that is. Phyla Vale. She's just a younger version of Phyla Vale, but she's a child of Marvel, hence the name Phyla Vale. And yeah, the half sister of Hulkling. So again, more hints at possibly Hulkling coming into the MCU. And Marvel better not fuck it up and not make him gay or say some crap about like, oh yeah, Wiccan and Hulkling, that's like they're like special friends. And that's the like extent of everything that we're gonna get with the relationship with Hulkling and Wiccan. You would hear my mouth throughout the entire Milky Way galaxy if Marvel does some bullshit like that. I met Kevin Feige twice. He will hear my mouth at the next red carpet if they pull some bullshit like that. But yeah, that was Phyla Vale. And so yeah, Jessica Marvel. I really feel like they're gonna fuck it. I really do. I feel like they're gonna just be like, oh yeah, that's a special friend. And also, I think Phyla is also queer as well, if I remember correctly. I think she's. I know Moondragon is, but I think Phyla is queer as well. I don't remember off the top of my head, but so they better not fuck it up. But with that said, yeah, they end up saving people. Everybody gets saved at the end, and they end up celebrating, and we see this split up of this new team of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Peter wants to finally deal with his trauma. Instead of having to, he never went to therapy and everything like that. He's been trying to run from his past this whole time. And so he's like, you know what? I need to deal with my past. I need to go back home. My grandfather's probably still alive. I need to go talk to him. Maybe go find the rest of my people, because I'm pretty sure he's got to have cousins and aunts and uncles and probably nieces and nephews and all that stuff. So he goes back to Earth. He sees his father. His father's still alive. He didn't look like he's 90. His father looked like he was in his 60s. So they connect. His father instantly knew who he was from the moment he saw him. And some people were like, come on now, you haven't seen that kid in how many years? You would instantly know who it was. But I'm like, well, hey, it's a movie. We don't have time. But then also, like, for the most part, we look the exact same that we look from kids. Granted, there are some people that as they age, they look busted, because there's a whole song by 50 Cent. Damn, homie, at high school, you was the man, homie. And you just like, dang, like what happened? What happened? You done let yourself go. So yeah, there are some people that don't look nowhere near what they look like when they were kids. But for the most part, you look at most people and you could tell that it's the same person. Plus, that's his son, or that's his grandson. So he's like, nah, that's. And plus, I'm pretty sure he's been looking at pictures every so often. Like, where did he go? Where did he go? And so I'm pretty sure. And plus, the Battle of Endgame and everything like that. Everybody knows about the Battle of Endgame. So I'm pretty sure he knew to some extent that was his grandson. And so he goes off to Earth. Mantis goes off to find herself or whatever with these giant like teeth creatures or whatever the hell they were. Drax stays on Nowhere to help raise the kids. Nebula stays on Nowhere to help rebuild the colony. And Rocket becomes the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy with Groot, Kraglin, Cosmo, and Phyla Vale. And then the movie ends. I think I touched on pretty much everything. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I missed something, but who knows? But with that said, something that I wish I had somebody on here to have this debate with or conversation with, but there's a conversation going on the internet now that this movie is over. I see people saying that this is the greatest Marvel trilogy ever. Out of all the Marvel trilogies, this is the best Marvel trilogy. Some people are saying this is the best trilogy out of all the comic book movies. Honestly, even though I did say this is my favorite of the Guardians movies, oh, hold on, really quick. The F-bomb was. I thought the F-bomb was funny. Like, and Grant, it's the first fuck in all of Marvel. The first one. I thought it was funny when he's like, "Open the fucking door," like, because she didn't know how to open up a regular door. Like, she's never. And of course, well, why would she? Ooh, excuse me. Of course, why would she? She's never seen a door before. So she wouldn't know how to open it. Same with Peter. He was taken from Earth when he was 8 years old. So of course he wouldn't know how to drive. So that little gag, I like that gag. Granted, I will say, like, going back to some of my negatives with the movie, some of the jokes, they did run a little bit too long. Like the banter between two of them, like Drax constantly laying on the couch and I'm having to keep telling him to sit up, sit up, sit up. Or like some of the stuff with Mantis and Drax going back and forth. Like a lot of that, like I was just like, all right, come on, like, all right, I get it, but let's speed this up. So some of that I didn't really care for, but that's Guardians of the Galaxy. You got to take it, take it or leave it. But I thought the F-bomb was funny. Me personally, I thought it was funny because of the way, especially the way, like his line delivery, and then the fact that when he was like, push the button to open the door, she's like, then what? He's like, open the fucking door. Like that was a very real. I feel like that was a Chris Pratt moment. And they decided to keep it because it felt very natural. It felt very genuine. I think that's the thing that made it funny for me the most. But going back to the debate, and you guys could leave your comment. Let me know what you guys think. And also, if you're watching the replay, well, if you want to repay me, you can, leave a super chat, especially, with me being live by myself, the struggle of being live by myself. You want to leave me a super chat to support your boy, support the stream. That'd be greatly appreciated. But with that said, so people are saying that this is the best of the MCU trilogies. This is the best comic book trilogy ever. And I wanted to know, what do you guys think? Do you think this is the best Marvel trilogy? Do you think this is the best comic book trilogy? I don't think this is the best Marvel trilogy. Me, I think the best Marvel trilogy still goes to Captain America. Like, a lot of people don't like Captain America 1. I like Captain America 1. I think Captain America 1 is great. And I think but for all the setup and everything like that that happened in Captain America 1, Winter Soldier would not be as good. You can't have a Winter Soldier if you don't have Captain America 1. I can still go back and watch Captain America 1 and look fondly upon it. And then, of course, Winter Soldier, for me, honestly, outside of Infinity War, because Infinity War is number 1 for me. But in terms of like solo character movies, Captain America Winter Soldier is like the best movie Marvel has put out to date, still to this day, in my opinion. So you got that, and then of course Civil War. And hold up, my mother's calling me. Why is my mother calling me? I'm live. Sorry, can't answer. There we go. But so then with that, Captain America 3 Civil War, with like the airport scene, the fight scene, like I really enjoyed Captain America Civil War. And despite it being Avengers 2.0, it still focused a lot on Captain America and his character and everything like that. I mean, look, Ron, it's Captain America 3. He's saying it's not isn't a Captain America movie. I mean, no, it's Avengers 2.0, but they still focus a lot of that movie on Captain America. It's still focused on the relationship. Oh, I went real like country there. I said America, Captain America. But it's still focused a lot on Cap's story. It's still focused a lot on Bucky's story. It's still focused a lot on his dynamic and how he stands with the rest of the MCU. Like a lot of that, Civil War aspect was based on Captain America doing what he thought was right. And so, but for that, there would be no driving plot and thing for the movie. So he still drove the plot of the movie in addition to Iron Man, but I still think it was more focused on Cap. So yeah, I wish it was more focused on Cap, but I still think it was a good Captain America movie and it was a good movie overall. And yes, Ron, thanks for joining now. But yeah, trilogies are hard in general, but I will say for me personally, I think Captain America is the best trilogy. And then I know a lot of people love like the Dark Knight trilogies. For me, I don't think the Dark Knight trilogies are that good, to be perfectly honest. The only really good movie in that trilogy is The Dark Knight Rises. And the only reason The Dark Knight Rises is good is because of the Joker. Not because of Batman, Christian Bale. It's because of the Joker, Heath Ledger. But take him out of the movie's not that good. And yes, I get like a lot of times movies fall and rise and fall on the strength of the villain. I do get that. But even still, like even Christian Bale as a Batman and everything like that, like the best parts of that movie are Heath Ledger's The Joker. But then Batman Begins, it was all right. And then Batman Rises, it wasn't trash, but it was But I think Captain America is the best trilogy. And then I think Spider-Man is the second best trilogy of the MCU. And then maybe, because I'm trying to think, because Iron Man, let me see. I didn't really care for Iron Man 2, but then on the flip side, for Guardians Volume 2, I didn't really care for Guardians Volume. Like, funny enough, I've only seen Guardians Volume 2 like one time. Yeah, I've seen it maybe twice in the theaters. And then I was like, I have no reason to go back and see this movie again. The only thing good about Guardians Volume 2 was the relationship and scenes between Nebula and Gamora. But the rest of it, mid, as the kids would say. But yeah, I liked Homecoming. I liked Far From Home, especially like the sequence, like the Mysterio sequence, and like the fight scene where he was fighting the illusions and everything like that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that was a good. And then like even just Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, and I'm hoping we get to see him come back because he's clearly not dead. If you don't see a body, he's clearly not dead. But I don't know. It's like, but still, like even when you compare. Like, I really like No Way Home. No Way Home is my favorite movie of Phase 4. But I don't know. It's that Winter Soldier, though. And then, like, I didn't like Homecoming as much as Far From Home and No Way Home. So, oh yeah, the Peter and Yondu stuff was good too. But more so the Nebula and Gamora stuff was even better than the Peter and Yondu stuff. But yeah, so I would say for me, Captain America, Spider-Man, and then maybe Guardians in terms of the MCU of trilogies. Then maybe Iron Man. Because I love Iron Man 1. Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3 has some very good moments, but I didn't like the whole Trevor, you'll never see me coming. I thought he was a cute character for what they did with him later on, but that whole build-up of him being the Mandarin only to be like, psych, we're just kidding. The lead of the villain should have been what's his face? Hammer. Justin Hammer. But yeah, so those would be my rankings. So Captain America, Spider-Man, Guardians, then Iron Man. But what would your ranking be for the trilogy of the MCU? Homecoming was cute. I didn't dislike Homecoming, but if I had to choose like Winter Soldier or Homecoming or Winter Soldier, like I just like the Captain America movies better. And then plus, you know, in my mind, Captain America and Bucky are lovers. And that movie, all three movies was about their love connection. So that's also what puts it over for me. The love connection, the Stucky connection between Cap and Bucky. There was none of that in Spider-Man Far From Home. Maybe once they finally introduce the Fantastic Four, we'll get to see, because you know, for those of you that don't know, Human Torch and Spider-Man are best friends in the comics, and there's some lot of like homoerotic moments between the two of them that be happening. Well, you know, so I'm like, maybe when they introduce Johnny Storm and Peter Parker and get some little homoerotic moments, then maybe I'll go back and be like, all right, now Spider-Man's my favorite. But with that said, I don't think I have anything else that I wanted. Hold on. Can we count on Blade? I don't know what the hell is happening with that Blade movie, especially now that the writer's strike is happening. Blade kept being pushed back because they kept having director issues. But now that they finally got a director and they were ready to shoot, now it's getting pushed back even more because the writers are currently on strike. And I'm not blaming the writers for going on strike. Go on strike, get your money, because AI is trying to take over everything and trying to cancel everybody and trying to get everybody to lose their jobs. So, you know, writers need to strike, actors need to strike, teachers need to strike, police officers need, no, police officers don't need to strike. Fuck them. They already get too much money as it is. Firefighters need to strike. A lot of them don't get that much money. Like, fast food workers need to unionize. I can go on and on and on and on down the list. So yeah, get your money, writers. I'm in full support of the writer's strike. But with that, we're not getting Blade anytime soon. And now, Mahershala Ali is already, I think he's close to being in his 60s. Let me look it up. And then you also got to think of like the movies filming and the post-production and all of that stuff. Like, and how long it would take to get 3 movies. No, he's 49. He's 49. So he'll be 50 next year. And then when you think about it, like usually they want to do like 3 movies with these actors. They're on the hook for like 10 plus years. So like at this point, yeah, I agree. I feel like now it's getting to a point because the movies keep getting pushed back and keep getting pushed back and keep getting pushed back. And you think about this, the fighting that Blade has to do. He's an immortal vampire. Mahershala Ali is not an immortal man. So at a certain point, like I feel like they're probably gonna have to recast and maybe go younger. Who I don't know. Maybe Trevante Rhodes, maybe Yahya Abdul-Mateen. I don't know, but at this point, I feel like because I don't unless they pull a thing where he's not fighting as Blade, he's like mentoring his daughter or something like that, which I don't know if they would do for the first movie. They might introduce her for the first movie and then maybe like transition to say the daughter of Blade, but they want to get that Blade audience back because that was the first movie. And I'm pretty sure they want to, pay homage to that because that was the first movie to really start the superhero craze and get Marvel out of bankruptcy. So I would think they would want to, put a little bit more emphasis and priority to Blade, but now it's not their fault. The writers are on strike. So who knows how long the writer's strike is going to happen. So yeah, I feel like at this point it's, and then also like with all the stuff that's happening with Jonathan May, I don't know what the hell is happening with and basically I say all that to say, I don't know what the hell is happening with the MCU in phase 5, but regardless, I'll be here to talk about it. And so that's all I pretty much have to say, unless you guys got additional comments or questions or concerns or thoughts you want to point out in the chat regarding the movie. Otherwise, if not, thank you guys for joining me on my little first solo outing here on the channel for a live review. I appreciate all of you. It's in our contract that we can't go on strike because people would die. I mean, then y'all need to get paid. Like, people gonna die. People gonna die regardless. People gonna die when y'all on shift or not. Like, because it's like a Superman thing. You can't save everybody. So it's the same thing with nurses. Like, nurses don't be getting paid. Healthcare workers don't be getting paid as much money as they should, considering all the thankless work that they do. I'm not even gonna go on that rant. Pay people. We also need universal basic income, and then also forgive my student loans. Like, y'all motherfuckers. Oh yeah, make Mahershala king. Or I mentioned this before you got here, but I was saying you can make the High Evolutionary a variant of Kang. He's black. He's wearing a purple outfit. You could be like, oh, Jonathan Majors got fired. Well, Chuck Woody Iwuji is he's high evolutionary scientist, all this high levels of technology. He's still alive. You could just be like, he's a variant of Kang and keep it moving from there. Are you going to cover The Little Mermaid? Yes, I am going to do a review on The Little Mermaid. I'm actually seeing it next week. I was debating which one I want to see because I got a screener for The Blackening, which is something I really want to see. So if you have not seen the trailer for The Blackening, I'm not a fan of the title. I wish it was actually called We Can't All Die First, but that's like the tagline. It's called The Blackening, We Can't All Die First. I think We Can't All Die First was a much better title, but that movie comes out June 16th. I got a screening invite to see it next week, Tuesday, so a whole month early. But then also, I got a screening invite from Disney to see The Little Mermaid in New York. So I'm like, on the same day, at the same time. So I'm just like, damn. So I got to choose between Little Mermaid and The Blackening. And like, part of me wants to say Little Mermaid, but then another part of me wants to say The Blackening because, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, I don't think The Little Mermaid is going to be good. I'm excited for Halle Bailey. I know she's going to kill it, but just the past is prologue. And outside of Jungle Book, all of these live action Disney movies have been not trash, but they haven't been good. Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast was all right. I like Beauty and the Beast, but The Lion King, what else? I can't think of all the others. But all the other ones that I've seen that I can't think of right now off the top of my head. So because of that, I don't have a lot of faith in The Little Mermaid. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm definitely going to cover it, whether I see it next week or wait till it comes out in theaters. And then yeah, Ursula being played by Melissa McCarthy. It should have been either a drag queen, a black drag queen, or a black Lizzo, some a plus size black woman. But whatever, it is what it is. So I'm deciding. I might flip a coin depending on what I see first. And so but I guess for the sake of the fact that Little Mermaid comes out first, I'll probably see Little Mermaid first because it makes the most sense. So I can get the early screening and then see it and then put out my review, as opposed to the Blackening that doesn't come out a whole month from now. But at the same time, I'm like, dang, especially because it's black horror. Like, that's my first love, horror. But I'll probably end up seeing the Little Mermaid. So that was my long-winded way of saying, yes, I am covering the Little Mermaid. And so with that, let me scroll up really quick, see any more comments that I might have missed. Otherwise, that is it. I love the advice Mantis gives to Peter. He finally listened to her. I sobbed. I hate when Chris Pratt makes me like a performance of his. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, drag queen or Lizzo. Yeah, no, I agree. Chris Pratt, I think, did a good job in this movie. Like, all of them. There wasn't a weak performance in this movie. And yeah, Chris Pratt, he's trash, but he's coming back. He's coming back as a legendary StarLord. I'm gonna write a letter to Kevin Feige and say, let him come back with a boyfriend. Because, like, again, he is bisexual in the comics. It won't happen. Chris Pratt won't do it, but I'm still going to talk about it. Because it wouldn't be the Black Gay Comic Geek channel if I didn't. But with that said, I will say overall, though, my favorite interpretation of Guardians is the video game on PlayStation 5. If you are a gamer, you have a PlayStation 5, Jessica. Notice how I'm calling her out. Jessica. Notice how I'm calling her out. Jessica. If you have a PlayStation 5 and you have not played the Guardians of the Galaxy video game and you're a gamer, I definitely recommend you check that game out. It is great. And the interpretation of the Guardians, that's what I would have wanted to see in the live action movies. Like, Drax the Destroyer is Drax I can't say is Drax the Destroyer in that game. He is menacing. You could tell why he's scary. Gamora, the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. You know why she's called the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. The dynamic between Rocket and all of the other characters. You got a lot of Rocket's backstory in that game, more so than you even got in the in the movies. And then also just like the banter and everything like that. The banter wasn't overwhelming in the game. Then the game was just overall fun. And then also the way they treated Mantis, you know, as being the celestial Madonna and not really being played up as a joke. She was hella powerful. She was hella wise. She was hella celestial, a celestial being. And so I liked that these characters weren't played as dummies pretty much in the movie. So I really enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy video game. So again, I definitely recommend that. I thought I reviewed it on the channel and I went back to try to go look back at my review and I was like, oh shit, I didn't review the video game. How did I not review the video? Because I could have sworn I reviewed it because I remember when I was playing the game, I took like screenshots or recordings of my my gameplay or whatever, but for whatever reason I didn't review it. So maybe that's something I might end up doing, even though it's been like 2 years since that game came out. But whatever, maybe I'll still go back and review it anyway. I just have to replay it so I can get my screenshots or whatever again from the game. But anyway, that's pretty much all I got. Drax kicked ass in this movie, though. Yeah, I mentioned that in the beginning, where I talked about this was the first time we really seen him be as much of a badass as he was when he took out Adam Warlock. And we never really seen that level of strength and fighting skill from him prior to this movie. And that's something I wish we got to see more of. He has that name for a reason. So with that, the best Guardians of the comic Guardians. I mean, obviously, I'm talking about like outside of the comic interpretation. Everybody go read the Marvel event Annihilation. Okay, summer homework. Yes, you do got summer homework. Annihilation and PS5 Guardians. And also read The Last Ronin, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm currently almost done with that. They are making it into a video game, God of War Ragnarok style. So I'm excited just based on the 3 issues that I'm on right now. I'm like, it is so good. So definitely, definitely be on the lookout for that game. Check that out, read that. And then also with that said, like I mentioned, hit the bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. Tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. Thank you guys so much for joining me on my first ever solo dolo Guardians of the Galaxy live stream. Thanks for hitting me up in the chat and keeping the conversation interesting and everything like that. And with that said, when is the next time I'm going live? Maybe for Little Mermaid. I'll go live for Little Mermaid. If it if I do not go live for Little Mermaid, it means I didn't like it. Because I don't want to come on, black people. I don't want to come on the internet and trash the movie. So you'll know. But anyway, so that might be my next live. But other than that, I don't know when the next time I'll go live, but hit that bell notification button so you're alerted when I do go live. But with that said, my non-spoiler review for Little Mermaid will be coming. We know the Blackening is coming next month. I don't know what else is coming out this month. But I know June is Ninja Turtles Mayhem. I know Ron's excited for that. Next month is also, I think, Transformers Beast Wars, and I was a big Beast Wars fan. Growing up, those Beast Wars were my Transformers. I didn't see the original Transformers, but I did see Beast Wars. So I'm excited about that. And it's directed by a black man, Stephen Caple Jr., who directed Creed 2. And shout out to him because he's now, I believe, the 5th black director in history to direct a movie with an over $100 million budget. The first was F. Gary Gray with Too Fast, Too Furious, or one of the Fast and Furious movies. And then the next was Ryan Coogler with Black Panther 1, then Ava DuVernay with A Wrinkle in Time, Stephen Caple Jr. with Transformers, and Nia DaCosta with The Marvels. Only 5 black directors who have directed movies with an over $100 million budget. Not movies that have grossed over $100 million, but the budget is over $100 million. Only 5 black directors. That is fucking crazy to me. And 2 of them are black. Only 2 of them are black women. That's crazy. Oh yes, how can I forget? Across the Spider-Verse also comes out next month as well. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Those are all the things that I will be reviewing. But in terms of this month, I don't know. Just hit the bell notification button. I don't know what else is coming out this month. But yeah, with that, I am out. Thank you guys for joining me. And then I'm gonna go see what